Hi everyone! If you're a subscriber to my channel, and why wouldn't you be?
You will be surprised to know that this person has actually got a lot of subscribers, even though most of his content is this political one-sidedness and sometimes very insulting language towards a certain race. I'm not going to say which one.
You may have seen this video where I debunked BuzzFeed's "People Try to Live Without Black Inventions."
Remember that his mass debunking was saying people try to live with improvements of inventions made by black people. That was his criticism. Not that black people were not involved in the invention, but that they improved them. That's how bad he torched BuzzFeed here.
It's currently the 4th most popular video on my channel, so I thought it would be fun to do a companion piece of sorts.
For any of you wondering, it's still number 4 behind Joe Biden, Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez, Joe Biden, and then of course another video at number 8 that is about debunking black people. It seems like the thing they enjoy on this channel is going after Democrats, which I have no problem with, and then torching black people for some reason.
So let's take a look at another video called 15 Inventions Created by Black Americans.
Before Black History Month is over, I wanted to take a moment to give thanks to the POC, pioneers of color, that came before us.
Oh, good grief.
Wow, we wouldn't want to do that. Give any attention to people of your nation who contributed, who usually don't get highlighted for their contributions. That would be awful.
During my research, I was blown away by just how many African American inventions we use on the day-to-day. And it got me thinking just how different life might be if it weren't for black ingenuity. And though this video could literally be hours long, I narrowed it down to some of my favorites.
Now, I want you to keep in mind too everything this guy just said. He wants to credit ingenuity, and he's surprised how many black inventions we use every day. Now, I want to tell you that these people got patents, so everything he's going to mention here is technically an invention, no matter how you slice it. Now, if we go by what's on the tin, they're going to have names that have been used before. For example, if I say I invented the electric television, then someone else comes in and says they invented the electric television, but they make improvements on the electric television. Those are two inventions that contributed to the people, but the fact that they have the same name is merely a small thing. But this guy's going to highlight it and make it seem like there were no contributions.
So there's your setup. This video is purportedly going to show us 15 inventions created by Black Americans. So let's see if this guy did the proper research. Spoiler alert, he didn't.
The automatic gear shift, Richard Spikes. For those of us who hate driving clutch, we have this guy to thank.
Okay, first of all, Richard Spikes' name is spelled wrong, so we're off to a great start. But more importantly, Richard Spikes didn't invent the automatic gear shift. Because if you read the actual patent...
This guy has literally got the nerve to put the patent down. Now, I want all of you who are kind of like on the edge to read the heading of the patent. It's literally written automatic gear shift. Now, I agree that he's making improvements to it, but what should he call it? That's the name of it. That's the name of the patent that was granted to him. Should he just make up a new name?
Richard Spikes writes, "My invention relates to improvements in automatic gear shifts."
Okay, so let's do simple maths. So he's talking about improvements, meaning there's gear shifts that have existed before, which is true. Then, if we look at the heading, it's called automatic gear shifts. Maybe invention just doesn't work the way you think you do, since this patent was granted. He got granted a patent for automatic gear shifts, inventing a type of automatic gear shift. This is how invention works.
In other words, he made mechanical improvements on something that already existed. In fact, he wasn't even the first to improve on it. That would be Henry R. Hoffman, who applied for a patent for automatic gear shift and speed control 8 years earlier and wrote, "My invention relates to improvements in automatic gear shifts and more particularly to the gear shift mechanism of a motor vehicle." So while he may have improved on it in some way, Richard Spikes did not invent the automatic gear shift, which means we're 0 for 1.
That's very informative. I wonder if he is ever going to put who invented it first.
America's first clock, Benjamin Banneker. Rumor has it that Ben built his clock after studying a friend's pocket watch.
So reportedly at age 21 or 22, Banneker, after studying a pocket watch, constructed a striking clock made almost entirely out of wood. And on the day of his funeral, his cabin caught on fire, which destroyed the clock.
His family even reported that it ticked until the day he died. Ooh.
The clock was destroyed in a fire. It's not like the clock died of a broken heart or something.
The emotion he was displaying was not sadness. It was spookiness, fear, ghostly.
Now the claim is that Banneker built a clock almost entirely out of wood or something. And to me, that sounds a little like folklore.
Yeah, it sounds completely like folklore, unless you consider the fact that a lot of clocks in history were built out of wood.
But for the sake of argument, let's say that he did. Regardless, there is no proof or documentation that he built America's first clock. Okay, next clip.
What the hell was that refutation? You personally don't believe it, so therefore it didn't happen? Also, keep in mind to the fact that they said he invented America's first clock, meaning that there were clocks elsewhere, which of course clocks go back to ancient Egypt and ancient China. But if he invented America's first clock, doesn't that tell you that invention doesn't mean that you are the first person to ever invent a machine that works like that?
Automatic elevator doors, Alexander Miles. Without this, we'd have a lot more awkward encounters at work. You know what I'm talking about.
And I'm sure you're not the source of that awkwardness in any way. And speaking of awkward, Alexander Miles didn't invent the automatic elevator doors. That would be J.W. Meeker, who filed this patent in 1874, while Alexander Miles' patent was filed in 1887. So while Alexander Miles may have improved how elevator doors work, he didn't invent them.
Yep, if we're talking about automatic doors, Heron of Alexandria invented it. He was an African because he was born in Africa. I'm not sure what race he was because it's hard to tell. He was in Egypt, in Roman Egypt.
The carbon filament and the electric lamp, Lewis Latimer. Do you know how many times I heard about Edison as a kid?
Yeah, because Thomas Edison was responsible for the first commercial successful light bulbs, you genius.
Now this is what I'm talking about right here. So instead of saying, this guy is literally saying, why have we heard of Edison when he didn't invent the light bulb? And this guy is saying, well, it's because he commercially made it available. Meanwhile, he's gonna dump all over this guy for helping Thomas Edison make the light bulb commercially available. So why isn't he well known? By the way, this guy used to work for Westinghouse, who was a rival of Thomas Edison, and so he was also responsible for making light bulbs and lighting popular in America. And in fact, he taught in the UK. He taught people how to grind glass, how to make filaments, and do everything else. But this guy's going to ignore that.
And as I have previously pointed out, Lewis Latimer didn't invent the carbon filament, let alone the electric lamp. What Lewis Latimer and his partner Joseph V. Nichols did do was patent new and useful improvements in incandescent electric lamps.
Now I want you to pay attention to these dates. Look here, Thomas Alva Edison, 1880, that's his patent. Joseph Swan, 1880, that was his patent, or that was his invention. He only patented the carbon filament because he assumed, because the light bulb or the electric lamp had existed for a long time, that it was in the public domain, so you couldn't patent it. And then you look over here, 1881 electric lamp by Lewis Latimer and his partner. Now, I want you to keep this in mind here. All these people patented these light bulbs for a reason at this time. It's because all of them had invented them prior to this date. But when Thomas Edison was granted a patent, they were like, oh, well, I've also made that. That's why all three of these people ended up working for the same company. Granted, this thing of, okay, since we can't tell who exactly created it first, or the fact that it was in public domain, we're granting everyone a patent, or we're granting everyone the ability to make money from it. And remember, Lewis Latimer ended up working for Thomas Edison.
And while Latimer didn't invent the carbon filament, he did file a patent pertaining to improvements in the manufacture of those filaments. And unfortunately, when people overstate Lewis Latimer's role in the evolution of the light bulb, it leads to falsities like the following.
A black man invented the light bulb, not a white guy named Edison. Okay?
81 million votes, guys.
What's interesting about this one is that he refutes himself, because he literally knows that Edison didn't invent the light bulb, and he pointed out the patent where it shows that Joseph and Lewis Latimer invented a light bulb. By the way, in 1881, they patented it. Thomas Edison patented his in 1880. This guy's making it sound like it's like years away.
Because Thomas Edison was responsible for the first commercial successful light bulbs, you genius. And as I have previously pointed out, Lewis Latimer didn't invent the carbon filament, let alone the electric lamp. What Lewis Latimer and his partner Joseph V. Nichols did do was patent new and useful improvements in incandescent electric lamps.
I'm actually genuinely confused by this one, because it's literally written electric lamp, and it says, to all whom it may concern, be it known that we, Joseph V. Nichols, a resident of Brooklyn in the county of Kings and state of New York, and Lewis H. Latimer of the city of county of the state of New York, have invented certain new and useful improvements in incandescent electric lamps, of which the following is specified. Our invention relates to electric lamps in which the light is produced by the incandescent of a continuous strip of carbon secured to a metallic wires and enclosed in a hermetically sealed and thoroughly exhausted transparent receiver, and it relates more especially to the method of mounting the carbons or connecting them with the wires. That sounds like a light bulb to me, mate. That sounds like an electric lamp to me. This next part is even dumber, because he mentions the improvements of carbon filaments, but he says they're not improvements of carbon filaments. And I'll show you why they have to be, because let's watch and see him fall flat on his face.
And while Latimer didn't invent the carbon filament, he did file a patent pertaining to improvements in the manufacture of those filaments.
So he says, in the drawings annexed our invention as illustrated in figure 1, I represent a carbon united to a metallic conducted wires of an incandescent lamp by our improved method. View of the same turned edgewise, a perspective of the same illustration. Wires, the ends of the former may be previously coated with copper or platinum. So he's there. Not only do they improve it, but they're experimenting with other, coating. With this forms of clamp, all nuts, screws, or pins and similar accessories are dispensed with. The conductors make contact with the carbons at considerable distance from the incandescent portion, so that the permanency of the connections is insured, and as the wires are by this means protected in great measure from heat developed, they may be of copper. So you can see here that clearly this guy is with this. He knows what he's talking about. And I could read the other patent, but I don't need to read it. Clearly this guy did not read. He reads the parts that go, oh, it's written that he didn't invent it. You just went and looked for something. This shows me that there's full bias on his part.
And unfortunately, when people overstate Lewis Latimer's role in the evolution of the light bulb, it leads to falsities like the following.
Brother, it's not a falsity. I just read it on your video. You're saying we're overstating it. I just read the patent you put up on your video, which I know is accurate because I've read that before.
A black man invented the light bulb, not a white guy named Edison. Okay?
81 million votes, guys.
Ooh, combining three of his worst hates: Joe Biden, Democrats, and giving credit to black people.
Folding chair, John Purdy. Without this, professional wrestling would be an entirely different sport.
First of all, this is the folding chair that John Purdy patented in 1889. But he didn't invent the folding chair, as this design goes as far back as the Nordic Bronze Age. Now, you might be thinking that this looks nothing like this, and you'd be right. But what I did find was the patent for this folding chair filed by John Cram 34 years earlier. Not sure what the color of John Cram's skin was, though. Sorry.
I don't actually care about this one.
The ice cream scooper, Alfred L. Crowell.
Yuck.
Need I say more?
I mean, it would be nice if you did, but you won't, so it's up to me. This is Alfred L. Crowley, who invented this ice cream scoop and disher that allowed the user to scoop ice cream and squeeze the handle that would separate the ice cream from the scoop. And you know what that means? We finally have an invention created by a black American inventor. Took long enough.
Last time it was the fridge, this time it's an ice cream scooper. This guy's got something for black people and ice. Anyway.
The modern lock, Washington Martin. Locks. Locks, dude. For 4,000 years, locks hadn't changed. This dude rolls along, makes some changes, then we're locking everything up.
No! In 1861, Louis Yale Jr. invented a pin tumbler lock that used a small flat key with serrated edges. Look familiar? Well, it should, because this is what's considered to be the modern lock. But where does Washington Martin figure into all this? Well, he doesn't. In the 1889 patent that Washington Martin filed, his lock featured a mechanism that, when tripped, would force a deadbolt out of the lock. This was Washington Martin's improvement over beveled latches that work like this. Washington Martin's design was to prevent people from being able to use something thin like a knife to jam open a beveled latch. However, this design is not in use today. So while Washington Martin invented a lock, he didn't invent the modern lock.
Wow. So this guy now understands inventing a something versus inventing the first thing. The difference between inventing a version of something and the first thing. This guy understands that now. Now that he needs it to debunk. Again, I could sit here and go through why it's not completely correct what he's saying, but I don't want to bore you with the details.
The refrigerator, Thomas Elkins. Who else had leftovers for dinner last night? Well, don't forget to thank your boy Thomas, because without his improvement to the refrigerator, that meal wouldn't have been possible.
Long story short, Thomas Elkins improved the refrigerator. He didn't invent it.
Isn't that what he just said? Because just like you said earlier, invented a version. And just like he said, improved. He didn't say invent, but you're gonna disagree with him while agreeing with him at the same time?
The refrigerator, Thomas Elkins. Who else had leftovers for dinner last night? Well, don't forget to thank your boy Thomas, because without his improvement to the refrigerator, that meal wouldn't have been possible.
Long story short, Thomas Elkins improved the refrigerator. He didn't invent it.
It's very interesting that last time he had to show who invented the earlier versions of these inventions, but this time, because he knows the person is black, he just ignores it. But I'm not going to do that. Instead, I'll play his own video where he discusses an earlier version of the fridge.
Anyway, at the beginning of the video, they showed a graphic of things that the girls were supposed to avoid, which included goods that were transported in a refrigerated truck.
Oh wait, it's in the refrigerator. Really difficult living without refrigerated items because black people invented everything.
Wakanda isn't real, lady. But that's it. Any talk of refrigerated items ends there, which is ironic because it's the only other thing featured in the video that was in fact invented by a black person. No mention of the inventor, no graphic, no nothing. So again, I guess it's up to me. This is Frederick McKinley Jones, who invented a portable air cooling unit for trucks carrying perishable food, and would go on to co-found Thermostats, a global leader in transport refrigeration for everything from trailers to rail cars. His invention led to the creation of the supermarket, frozen foods, ice cream trucks. This guy changed the world. Frederick McKinley Jones is an American hero. When BuzzFeed had a chance to celebrate two of the most important black inventors of our time, they blew it. For more about Frederick Jones and Lonnie Johnson, check out some of the links in the video description.
The modern toilet, also Thomas Elkins. Ooh, baby, a double.
Let's look at this modern toilet. It's a commode that adds amenities like a bureau, mirror, and a book rack. You know, like the modern toilet. All this is just a big piece of furniture surrounding a toilet.
I actually agree with him on this one.
The mop, Thomas W. Stewart. What? Were you gonna keep using your good towels to clean up spills?
Okay, I think you can guess that Thomas Stewart didn't invent the mop. And he certainly didn't invent the Swiffer wet jet. Nice prop there, genius. Anyway, what Thomas Stewart did accomplish was receiving a patent on a metal holder that would secure the mop itself to a mop handle, which means that you could remove the string mop and replace it. However, this wasn't an original invention. That honor goes to inventor Jacob Howell's mop holder that was introduced 56 years prior. So while Thomas Stewart didn't invent the mop holder, let alone the mop, he greatly improved on Jacob Howell's design. And Stewart's design hasn't changed all that much in almost 130 years, and that's some legacy.
Oh my God, not again. He's gonna make me agree with him now that we're at the end.
Portable pencil sharpener, John Lee Love.
So spoiler alert, John Lee Love didn't invent the portable pencil sharpener, as sharpeners like these had already existed decades prior. For example, this is a Marion pencil sharpener, which, as you can see, is pretty damn portable. But let's take a look at the sharpener that John Lee Love invented. Here is the sharpener from the side, and the pencil goes in here where the blade is located. And here's the view from the top. Again, you insert the pencil here. Then, while holding the pencil, you turn it like a crank. The small gear rotates the blade mechanism, which in turn sharpens the pencil. And no, John Lee Love didn't invent the first hand-cranked pencil sharpener, as products like this one from the A.B. Dick Company were patented at least a year before. But the Love sharpener is novel, because according to John Lee Love's patent, this is supposed to go on top of a desk and serve as a paperweight or a desk ornament. With that said, I have no clue where anyone gets the idea that it's supposed to be portable. Anyway, I thought it was interesting and thought I would share.
If he explained everything like this, the video would be so much more interesting and so much more accurate.
Potato chips, George Crumb. My favorite carb delivery system.
Okay, first of all, these aren't even potato chips. These are sun chips that are made from corn. Not only is this video lazy in its research, but they're too lazy to go to the store and buy a 50-cent bag of potato chips. Regardless, George Crumb reportedly invented the potato chip in the 1850s, but the recipe for potatoes fried in slices or shavings is attributed to William Kitchener. The recipe was included in his 1822 cookbook, The Cook's Oracle. And here's a fun fact: William Kitchener also invented the kitchen. The recipe was included in other publications, including the cook's own book, published out of Boston in 1833. In other words, George Crumb didn't invent potato chips in the 1850s because they were invented in the 1820s. And that means we're 1 for 12.
Fried potato slices go back way more than this, but who cares? It's just potato chips.
Thermostat and temperature control. Frederick Jones.
Oh my God! So this is Frederick McKinley Jones, who did not invent the thermostat and/or temperature control, although he did receive a patent relating to improvements in a temperature control system. But what this genius doesn't realize is that Frederick McKinley Jones was the inventor/creator of the portable air cooling unit and co-founder of Thermo King. Before FMJ, refrigerated trucks and boxcars didn't exist, so perishable goods like vegetables needed to be packed in chipped ice to keep them fresh.
A stream of chipped ice is forced over the boxes stacked in the cars to ensure their arrival in northern cities as fresh as if just taken out of the soil.
Frederick McKinley Jones changed the world, yet just like the BuzzFeed video, they missed the prime opportunity to honor one of the greatest inventors of all time. And he blew it because he wanted to make a joke about Arizona weather or something.
Freddie, my guy, my dude, Arizona salutes you.
And you thought the BuzzFeed video was bad.
I'm starting to think this guy is messing with me.
Modern traffic light, Garrett Morgan. Thanks to Garrett, we don't have to play a game of Frogger every time we want to cross the street.
Garrett Morgan invented this traffic signal, which looks nothing like nor operates anything like the modern traffic light. For clarity, Morgan invented this, he didn't invent this. So, wrong again.
Touchtone telephone, portable fax, caller ID, fiber optic cables, etc. Dr. Shirley Ann Jackson.
Nope.
Dr. Jackson deserves her own video.
Well, not only does she deserve her own video, which this guy is obviously not capable of making, but there happen to be tons of great videos about Shirley Ann Jackson right here on YouTube.
You're looking at the mother of modern telecommunications right here. Put some respect on her name.
If you want to put respect on her name, then you would have done your due diligence, because all of the things that you attributed to Dr. Jackson were telecommunications advancements that occurred before she even left college.
Like I said before, this is all just the tip of the iceberg.
Tip of the iceberg. This video is called 15 Inventions Created by Black Americans, and the only invention you got right was the mechanical ice cream scoop. And then you credited Frederick Jones with the wrong invention, which is particularly egregious.
And though it's always good to stop and acknowledge those who came before us, Black history could never be condensed into a single month. Though,
Thanks for trying, white people.
I hate me too.
Anyway, thanks for watching, sharing, and slamming that like button. Be sure that you're still subscribed to the channel, and as always, I hope to see you next time. If there is a next time.
What annoys me about this video is that this guy has so much information about African American creators that he could actually probably spawn a second YouTube channel and detail all of this and make probably a lot of money, but he chooses to make money destroying, I don't know, I don't even know who the hell was that guy in that video. The only reason I even bothered to go and talk about this video is because it has millions of views. It has millions of views. People agree with everything this guy said, even though only when you get to the end does this guy start to favor people, which I'm starting to think he does that as an insurance against people who are going to talk against him. That's my conspiracy. But not only that, everything else he talks about politically about this, it's shooting in the wrong direction. Why is he he should be the biggest champion. Based on everything he said about the inventions and improvements that black people have put in, he should be the first guy to say, when people say African Americans didn't help build the country, he should be the first person to come out and be like, they literally put in a lot of effort in our modern inventions and our modern technologies that give us our creature comforts today. He should have a, I don't know, a podcast talking about how great these inventions are. I mean, he is obviously interested in talking about black inventors, but instead he uses it to down BuzzFeed and a random dude who seems happy as hell and probably doesn't care that much about inventions. Anyway. Oh, and the final statement. This is not a political channel. I don't care whether you like or don't like the Democrats. I don't care if you want to vote or not vote for the Democrats. This guy is going to vote for Trump, by the way, if you want to know. But I don't care whether you vote for him or not. I have nothing to do with that. I I mean, I kind of believe that the systems need to be changed anyway, and the way the American system works in voting is not real. Well, it's not real democracy, but that's neither here nor there.